Most people don't actually fail at business because of a lack of money or a lack of ideas. They actually fail at business because their mindset is completely wrong. And the reason is really simple. They just believe in myths that are simply keeping them stuck where they are. So in this video, I'm going to bust the 5 most common myths that I hear for reasons people can't start a business. I'm going to share how these myths affected me personally as well, and why you shouldn't give a complete and utter shit about any one of them. So let's get into myth number 1. You probably think that you need thousands of dollars in the bank to start a business, and that is completely wrong. If you believe that theory of having so much money in the bank before you can launch, then that is going to keep you in preparation mode forever, because you're convincing yourself that you're responsible by saving up for your business. But the reality is you're not taking any action at all to get any validation on your business idea in the first place. Most businesses don't actually fail from that lack of capital. They fail because they had an idea and they didn't validate that idea before they went forward full hog with their business idea. And if you keep waiting and waiting until you've got more and more money to then validate the idea, you may find later that your idea was crap anyway, and therefore you're not even going to launch and you've just wasted your time. Now, I used to tell myself exactly the same thing. I've spent months, if not years, procrastinating over the idea of starting a business and thinking that I need everything to be perfect, that I need this amazing website and I need perfect videos on YouTube and everything else. And what you're watching right now is actually an evolution of this. This is me doing my own business on my own with very little funding, because that's what you need to do. You need to validate the idea first before you then sink your capital into something and really push for success. Now, if you want to conquer this myth, it's really simple. You just need to start small and validate your idea before you go all in on that idea. Try and get one paying customer and test it with free resources. Try creating YouTube videos, X posts, and validate the idea online using free tools and mechanisms. This is called doing a proof of concept. And once you've proven some demand, you'll actually find that the money that you're going to put into your business is actually a tool and not a prerequisite for launching one. Here is myth number 2. Mindset is just thinking positively. If mindset was all about just smiling whenever you're stressed, then every goddamn person in the world would be rich. The reality is that fake positivity doesn't actually help you at all. It doesn't set you up well for failure. And when you get a setback, things go really bad. This is the same with any kind of mental health situation. If you keep telling yourself things are fine, but they're not really fine, long term they won't be fine. Ignoring problems actually creates more stress because you're having to bottle that up rather than deal with it head on. This doesn't just apply to mental health, this applies to business as well. So a real mindset isn't actually about pretending anything or faking it till you make it. It's actually all about resilience, handling setbacks and dips when they occur, and finding a way to deal with the situation when you do have a setback or a dip. Now, I've had this plenty of times in the past as well, when I've been a business and not really enjoyed what I'm doing, but I'm trying to pretend to the customer or the person I'm working with that I really enjoy what I'm doing. You don't want to do this long term because it will damage your mental health and your business mentality. And I found I just didn't want to go to work sometimes because I just hated it so much, and I'd just rather do something else and stay in bed and call in sick. And so if you want to get around this problem, then there's a really simple solution, and that is to build yourself a set of quickly accessible resolvers. Now, these are very small, specific actions that you can put to work right away to get yourself out of that setback or bad mindset. Now, this could be as simple as going out for a run, writing down some frustrations, doing a little bit of journaling. It could be even going and having a nap, or it could be talking to a friend who grounds you, your partner, your wife, husband, whatever else. You should think of a resolver like a mental health reset button, something that's going to help you get back to where you need to be successful and have a positive mindset towards doing business stuff. So these things are going to be really important for you, and you shouldn't just rely on motivational quotes and speakers to somehow inspire you into gear. You need to feel it yourself, not just hear it from someone else. So myth number 3 is about hard work and success. And if working hard was just enough to be successful, then every single person in the world would also be very rich and successful. Now, we sometimes mix up what hard work is. So hard work doesn't necessarily mean doing more. It means doing more value add stuff. You can think of this in someone who works in a labor trade, because, for example, all day they might be stacking bricks or tiling a roof. All of these things are physically taxing and very difficult to do, and that is what people associate with hard work. But to be honest, if you asked a lot of those people who work in that trade, they would say they hate their job and wish they could do something which wasn't as labor and time intensive, because you cannot get that time back. And this is the important thing. What separates someone from running a business and being successful and doing something different is not the number of hours that you work, but it's what you do with those hours hours while you're working. Ultimately, if you're doing hard work without direction, then you're just literally spinning wheels round and round. Now, I've tried this myself. I used to be a consultant and I used to travel up and down to London every single day from where I live, which is about a 4-hour round trip. And I used to do that 5 days a week because I was really trying to show value to who I was working for and that I was always committed and I didn't need to work from home. I always wanted to come into the office. Whilst that might look good on paper, I was just physically burnt out and I just felt like it wasn't worth it in the end, and I actually ended up leaving and going to a different job. And when I did that, I realized that actually I don't need to spend all this time grafting like that. What I need to do is make those hours that are on the ground count really well and not try and show value by putting more hours in unnecessarily. So what you can do here is you can start thinking strategically about what you would do in your work time for business and think about it before you actually get to do it, so that you know what targets and goals you have and you can stay on track with that rather than just putting in extra hours thinking you're moving forward when actually, as we said earlier, you're just spinning wheels. So myth number 4 is probably the most common one that I hear. I don't have any time to start a business. Well, if you don't have any time to start a business, then I would suggest you get your phone out and you have a look at the screen time report on your phone and you look at all those apps that you've been looking at and just see how much time you've used on them. The reality is time is a very common excuse for things. People say they're busy, they don't have any time at all, but they still manage to find 2 to 3 hours a day to do things that they want to do, like watching Netflix or scrolling on TikTok looking at funny cat videos. Now, if you took even 1 hour from a day and you did that over 7 days, that's 7 hours. That's almost 1 full working day per week that you could allocate to growing a business if you just didn't look at your phone in the way you had been doing for 1 hour a day. Now, I've done this before and I've often scrolled on my phone. Now, nobody's saying that you can't have hobbies and time to yourself. No one's saying you have to work all the time, but you do just have to find some of that time. And I think when people say, I can't find any time to do work, the reality is they can find it, they're just too lazy to look for it. So my suggestion here, if you're feeling this and you think this, is just audit your week. Have a look at everything you do, find some gaps in your diary, and if you can't find 1 hour a week, I am convinced you're lying, because everybody has some time available. And if you're not sure, check that screen time report. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how much free time you do really have. So myth number 5 is all about perfection and having a perfect idea. If you are waiting for the perfect idea, I hate to say it, you're not going to get anywhere with your business, and that's likely why you haven't started either. Importantly, perfection doesn't actually exist from the get-go, and it rarely exists in any form. You have to work hard for something to be absolutely perfect, and you have to keep evolving something to get rid of every single hurdle in the way. What you have to remember is that every single business that's been grown, whether that's Apple, Microsoft, or any of the big giants in the world, they've all had to evolve their business at some point because their idea was maybe good or okay, but there was a better one because the narrative changed, the market changed, the user sentiment changed in what people really want. But if you try and chase the perfect idea, you will create a paralysis in growing your business, and you probably wouldn't even get started. Think about it, everything's moving all the time. The economy changes, what people want changes all the time, and if you don't move to that market quickly, then you'll get left behind and you won't have anything that somebody wants. Now, I've spent hours before creating lists of things I want to do for a business, ideas about, I'm going to have to create a Medium account, and I'm going to have to create a Substack account, and I'm going to have to create an account over on this platform, and I'm going to have to get a Kick one and then a Twitch one. Before I know it, I'm thinking, why am I doing all of these extra things and trying to be perfect from day one? Because you're not going to be able to run them on day one. You would just be hamstrung by how many things you have to do. So I decided to simplify things and focus on one thing that makes sense, which is do something now and evolve it and get feedback and evolve it and get feedback and evolve it. You get the idea. And that is all you need to do if you're running into this problem and you're feeling this myth yourself. What you have to remember in all of this is that you don't need more money to launch a business. You don't have endless time to create a business, and you don't need a perfect idea to launch a business. What you need is a clear mindset, you need some clear and consistent actions, and you need to set yourself some clear goals and objectives so you can measure whether you're hitting them or not. Now, during this video, we did touch on an element of motivation, and actually that can fade quite quickly when you're trying to grow a business because you feel like everything's an uphill struggle. And if that's you, then I'd recommend watching the video that's on screen next, because I break down some very key ways that you can keep going when your motivation starts to elude you. And if you feel like you've been procrastinating or feeling stuck in just getting going with your business, I think this video on screen is really going to help you.